obvious, and they're obviously not the police. So it just seems like an ambiguous role that obviously, they gave to someone because they couldn't handle the task. And so I would hate to just keep adding more and more.
Well, I think you have to question that about what they're there for, what they're not getting paid money to do nothing.
Well,
No,
at
but
at Crescent Halls, it's very specific, right?
Well, that is
it's
one
people
building.
in and out of the door. It's patrolling a very clear perimeter
Right.
with cameras that they, there's a whole system there that's contained.
I think it's one it's a different thing, I think, when it's a one building,
to our sort of
like a
family
door
sites.
service than some of the sites that are more
Yeah,
widespread.
they do all kind of stuff, escorting and, riot stuff. I've seen them do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And we can think about, are there ways that we should think about containing our sites for those kind of purposes so that you really kind of need a guide to get in and out? I don't know. I'm totally thinking off the cuff there.
Like I say, conversation with residents,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that kind of stuff, but we need feedback from the communities of what's going on. Because each community is different. Something different is going on in each community.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation we need to have with the residents. But we need to have those with residents who are behind doors, who want to be able to say stuff, who want come out and say, but will call me on the telephone and say, okay, yeah, all right, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but I need other folks to hear the concerns that the residents have, and this board is responsible for hearing those conversations.
Yeah, and I appreciate figuring out how we can get to a point where we actually hear it, because we so appreciate you playing that role and bringing it back to us, but you can't carry it all. And so how do we make sure that everybody gets to hear in a way that's safe for residents and the residents feel safe? Mr.
So
Duffy?
as we walk out of this meeting, what are we saying? And am I hearing, look, it's on the executive director to make the determination to deploy security service, additional pieces to help make something happen? What I'm hearing, we need to conduct additional meetings, things of that nature before we make any kind of operational changes in how we go to business on this. I'm concerned that somebody's going to get shot and killed. Okay, and some of the behaviors that have taken place over the past 6 weeks, if they continue, I can see this becoming lethal, and that doesn't feel acceptable.
So one of the great values that Millennium has brought at Crescent Halls is that they have come back to us at different points in time with real recommendations of policy changes, procedure changes, you name it, for how we can do it better. So going back to Mr. Osteen's comments, perhaps without making it a permanent deal, maybe there's a way to use Millennium for a couple of months and immediately with the idea that part of the work that they're doing is bringing us back information about what we might be able to do better. Where we need more lighting at night, where we need, where some hot spots are that perhaps we didn't know about, residents who might talk to them, I know a lot of folks at Crescent Halls talk to the officers. Maybe that's a way to sort of get some input. And that's certainly a step we can take immediately.
As I said, each community is different, and you're not going to get from the other communities what you get from Crescent Halls.
Right, but if you've got
And
a security
Millennium
officer.
doesn't know anything about those other communities right now. So it'll take them a little while.
Well, they might be local folks, they might know some stuff, but they don't
Correct.
know.
And I would use that information in a 8 o'clock call to the police chief too, to say, we're having to take measures into our hands that we think is police business.
Yeah.
And before we have our own police force, we got to see what we can get out of you.
I think what needs to happen, because Because right now, Grant has concerns, and I don't think he's put all his concerns out here that he has, and it sounds like he might have some of the same concerns that I
Well,
have.
I heard his concerns too, and you as
And I
well.
think that we need to be able to have conversation with Grant, and then before we make a decision of hiring Millennium to bring them back, because they're short-staffed too.
Yeah.
So we really can't depend on them, so we need to figure it out. I think we need to have conversations with Grant. He, you know, and then give him directives at that point, of what we feel like he needs to do at this point, because he has concerns, and I do too. Because I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I live in the community. And where I don't live, I get phone calls from.
Yeah.
So we figure out how we meet with Grant,
Yeah,
hear
let's,
his concerns,
Can we do a,
community meetings, and then the meetings with the police in Meridian.
as soon as
But at
possible?
this point,
Yeah,
we feel like
lead.
he needs something.
yeah, meet quickly, and, yeah.
Can we do a closed session at the end? Is that a topic? It seems like there's a privacy,
I don't think we can do a closed
Okay.
session,
only, I mean,
yeah.
How do we,
Yeah.
how do we get it done where everybody, and I like for the more of the board to be here to hear the conversation.
Exactly. I mean, that would be-
That needs to happen too, so we need to figure out how we do that. I don't know how many, tomorrow, I was thinking tomorrow after the redevelopment meeting, but then we won't have everybody there either, but we gotta figure it out.
We got an annual plan meeting slated for Wednesday, 29th at 4:30 at Crescent Halls. Now, maybe there's an opportunity to do something
Before or after.
before or after that, you know. We need to have a couple of days' notice.
yeah.
I think.
Can,
Julie, there's somebody from the audience.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
On, what's it, last Friday, it was just dismissed. This past weekend, I went out into the community at West Haven and spoke.
Can you come up, because I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
hear you.
yeah. It's- this is-
Hi, my name is Angeline Khan. I am an organizer of community engagement here in Charlottesville. I run a website called Power to the People, 365.org. I went out to the community of West Haven on Friday to speak with some residents. I got a call to come out and interview, you know, go out there, speak with some of the residents, see what was happening, how they were feeling. This is fairly a new thing for me, the community engagement side. So my idea, and I talked to Wes about it and several other people, is to get more community engagement, to get people, residents from these neighborhoods. You would have to allow them some other way versus coming down here. A lot of people can't leave their homes. A lot of people are afraid to leave their homes. A lot of people don't want to be on television. A lot of people don't, you know, they just don't want that exposure. My idea for this is to allow them to virtually attend these meetings because, you know, in reality, everybody up here is making decisions about their welfare. They should have input on their welfare and decisions being made about their public housing situation and ways to, you know, level the playing field for them, in essence. A lot of people are misinformed because they're unable to attend the meetings. You know, so my idea, which I spoke with one of the residents out there, and I don't know how to go about doing it, but I don't expect payment, I volunteer this, but just to go out and say, you know, let me bring this here because you all can't come here. I also have a few messages as well, but I was saving that for public comment. But so my idea, because each property has a community space, correct, is to set up a webcam and virtually have another webcam here, like that screen can come down and you can use an AV cord or however you want to set it up, but to have it where you can see them and they can see you, and you can communicate with them, and they don't have to go anywhere. A lot of people are interested in this idea because, one, they don't have time. Two, they don't have funds to get here. Three, they probably nervous, or just it'll eliminate a lot of factors, and that's how you get community engagement. You go out there. You don't have to have a title. You don't have to have anything. You just go out into the community, say hi to folks. My name is such and such. This is what I'm doing. How do you feel about this situation? What are the areas that you think can be improved on? I was in this situation once. Or you have to be relatable. First of all, they've never seen you. None of the people I spoke with had ever seen me before, but they engaged with conversation.
Thank you.
So that is something that you need to look on, and I also can do that as well. So my next stop will be Friendship Court, and then I want to do all of the sites within the week if I can. So
That's great. Thank
Okay.
you. You're welcome.
I didn't expect it to be quite so long. We
Oh, I
usually-
didn't.
Yeah. We usually reserve it for. I thought it was a quick question.
it wasn't. It was just.
Yeah. So we'll have public comments at the end. If you have a clarifying question now, let me know. But otherwise, we'll take comments at
So
the
is
end.
this about the security now that we're questioning about?
If you have a clarifying question,
I mean, because I do have a question. I mean, one, Millennium didn't do its job. So you definitely have to look into Millennium. But how many times have we as residents been asking for communication with the police, even before the new chief came?
yes.
And all these other things. I mean, and it's like to watch y'all up there that aren't living in these situations. I mean, to look at y'all's face and not knowing that y'all's really demeanor, to know what's really going on. And for me to sit here and now to see Grant's face and what's about to take place, you do not really understand the seriousness. It's what's taking place. We just had a drive-by the other day.
Right, that's the.
And the young man shot at his own kids, specifically. So, I mean, we really have to definitely get on the security, because I'm like Ms. Audrey, we're tired of keep asking about security. We've been asking for years and years and years. We just had this months ago, the same conversation in the resident service meeting. When can this be done? I mean, we can't keep waiting. Y'all don't live in these situations. Like now, we could go home right now, and it could be a shooting. It could be something.
Thank
So
you.
we cannot just wait. Millennium, we cannot wait, because Millennium didn't do nothing August 11 and 12. They didn't even get off their cars. So, I mean, we can't just, like she said, we can't just rely on Millennium. We can't just rely on the police, because we also got police officers that has been there, that has been harming the community, that we've also asked for to not be in the community. And we're still having these same officers in the community having private meetings with our property manager. Lord knows what they're telling them. So we need to have this conversation ASAP.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Did you want to add something, Ms. Johnson?
I have a few comments that I can go to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it's about this. We're a little off agenda, but that's quite all right. This is a really important topic, and I know we have to have.
George Johnson, 802A Harder Drive. I have just a few comments. I think it is imperative that a meeting is called with the chief. She's here. We're part of the city. If there is violence that is upscaling in any part of the city, whether it's on a public housing site or a non-public housing site, it should be a calling for her. And I think having feedback from the community about what it is they want, it's going to be mixed. That's how you go about it. It is an urgency in all of the community, because it moved from one side to another. It shifts. So it's not just happening in just one. The media just carry one site,
Right.
but it's happening on different sites, and then some of the sites is hushed. Nobody knows about it. Other sites, there's big publicity about it for whatever reason. But we who live in the community, we know it transfers. So I think the police department, should be, we're a part of the city. Also, I think lease enforcement. I think my thing is, you can't ask the police department to be the property manager. And the police department should not be the property manager. They should not be influencing who get evicted. The policies should be influencing who get evicted. So I think that it's not just on the police department. It's also on if we are employing people who's afraid to be on the property, find somebody else. Because for me, appearance is a deterrence. All I have to do is show up in my blue van, things change, right? Same thing. I mean, I know there's some property manager who drive around and take pictures at night because that's what residents tell me. Then what are you doing with it? If you have evidence, bring it to a committee, bring it to Grant, bring it to whomever to say, how do we deal with this kind of stuff? So I just wanted to make sure. I know that I heard that that there was some talk about the CSO officers, the CFO offices coming back. I want to tell you all, you better be talking to the residents about that or the community, because we tried that. It did not work. It didn't deter anything. It was just a changing chamber for the police officers.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to just say, I think if this is a partnership with FAR, the Housing Authority, and the Police Department. That's part of our annual plan. We say we are having weekly meetings with residents. That's not happening. They may be having weekly meetings with the managers, but they ain't having weekly meetings with us. We don't get to dialogue with a police officer unless we are at those meetings, the last meeting that we talked about with September 11th. So I just wanted to put that out there about safety. It is a high priority. I don't think if you put manilium in our neighborhoods with the fire that is brewing out there, it's going to be worse. I think we need something much more strategic.
Okay.
I didn't know if I could say anything.
Yes,
but
please.
I would say, in the short time that I've been there, I would say that this is the #1 concern that residents have expressed to me, is their safety. And they don't know me very well, but they've been very willing to talk about the safety and the gunshots and their fear of living there, and especially with children sometimes. So I have heard a lot of that.
Thank you. So this conversation clearly continues and continues soon. We're not going to put it off another month. We'll schedule a date for this board to get together again to in a more conducive way, invite some residents in and go out on sites.
So I think we still haven't answered Grant's question. Right now, there's an urgency, so when do we meet with him? When do we talk with Grant? When, something has to happen like in the next couple of days, that we have a conversation with Grant. Or, maybe I don't know if you want to send us something about what's going on so that we can look at it, we can talk about it, figure out, what his concerns are, let him send us something. Email us or whatever you need to do so that we can have a conversation with him about what's happening.
Okay.
And I don't want to leave here tonight without doing something.
Okay.
So that's a suggestion for a meeting this week, another meeting this week?
Do we want to have a meeting with Grant, or do you want to open the opportunity for Grant to maybe have some strategic phone calls individually with us?
I think, I would like to have it as a group. I'd like to figure out how we do this as a group,
I'd
not
agree.
just
I'd
individual
agree.
phone
I'd
calls.
agree.
No.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Do you all want to attempt to set a time now?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's important.
Should we do a couple times? Are you saying meet with us and then the police, or should we just go ahead and get them? I think we should just,
Let's set a meeting of this board. We'll invite the police. I'll make sure we have
Okay.
Millennium there. But this is a conversation that this board needs to have immediately. and-
okay.
Yeah. Maybe Mr. Bellamy can help encourage the police to attend as well.
Well, yeah, we'll contact them. I mean, they've certainly have been more responsive than the past
Okay.
police was, under the past chief. So, but who knows their schedules. Tomorrow,
I could do tomorrow at 5.
Is there,
I can
We
do it
have
tomorrow anytime.
redevelopment at 12 noon.
meet again at 5 tomorrow?
Are you suggesting noon, Ms.? I can't.
We have at 12 o'clock. Half of us are already at 12 o'clock.
I can do either one.
5 o'clock works for me tomorrow.
It'll work for me.
You said it doesn't?
Grant, didn't look good for you.
Oh, it
yeah,
does.
I mean, I've got a challenge, but I will figure it out. I mean,
What time works for you, Mr. Duffield?
Wednesday looks really good. That
Okay.
also gives us the opportunity to get a public notice
Okay.
out of the meeting.
I can do Wednesday.
Do you have times available on Wednesday?
We have a city
Can you
council
please
meeting.
make some time for us?
Well, we have a city council meeting
Can
Wednesday.
you please make some time for us?
What time is city council on Wednesday?
Are you part of the problem or part of the solution, buddy?
There you go. Good point. Both.
We always
Both.
ask, we always
Both.
ask, can you please make some time? for us?
Really? Oh,
We
okay.
always ask.
So we have city council meeting from 3:30 to 5:30.
6 o'clock?
No, probably it would be best to do it before, because I don't know if the meeting's gonna last.
Longer?
Yeah, longer. We have a tendency to do that.
2
I could do
o'clock?
before.
2 o'clock.
I could do that.
2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 29th?
Works for me.
Oh.
For who? Why does that not work for me?
Yes, I
I can't break confidentiality.
Okay, oh, right, okay.
Is that something that can move? 1 o'clock.
Well, that
1
is
o'clock.
pushing it I mean, that's just an hour if you got a 2 o'clock meeting, that means you
Yeah.
have to leave early to get to a 2 o'clock meeting.
Oh, that's right. Brandon, do you think we could push the 2 o'clock?
Could you do noon?
No.
Noon?
Noon?
Lunch?
Noon works?
What about Thursday or Friday?
Well, noon on
Neither.
Wednesday, can you do noon on Wednesday?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, noon on Wednesday.
wasn't trying to touch Thursday.
Is that,
Where's
Well,
the-
we're trying to get it done.
where's
Thursday
the-
I can't do, that's my only
Yeah,
problem.
neither,
Okay.
neither can I.
so you can do noon on Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay.
Is there a preferred location? I mean, we can meet in the basement conference room if need be, or I can try to,
Or one of the community centers?
Where?
Parking for other people, just saying parking is a nightmare.
Yeah, maybe one of the
Well,
community.
South First Street, West Haven? Let's meet at West Haven if it's available.
Okay, we'll
At noon.
get a site, yeah.
Oh, so you're gonna do that? You're gonna schedule the place?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. 12 noon. And let's say West Haven unless you hear otherwise, okay?
Okay.
and we want Chief Brackney there, or,
Yes.
Yes.
and then and my apologies coming from one meeting to the next, so I know I missed majority of the conversation, but we're asking her to come to discuss the safety measures
For all of us,
for,
And to step it up.
so, I'm just.
I mean,
Asking what would be the difference between them coming now and the listening tour that we had 2 years ago?
Guns last weekend.
Yeah, but there were shootings last time as
it's
well.
an urgency.
Yeah, well, this is just.
You're right.
No, understood. So what?
Miss,
it's a new,
to answer your question, I think this is a preliminary meeting that we'd like to have just with the board and Chief Brackney and Millennium Security, if they're able to be there, just kind of meeting each other, talking about what's been happening recently, and developing a plan of action, both for getting a lot of community input, tools we might be able to put in place right away, and then what we should look to be doing in the future. So it's really just, it's the beginning of a process that will include, you know, a lot of community outreach and listening.
Okay. So I'll just ask the chief to come, and she'll text back.
Great.
I-
Thank you.
I just think that maybe we should have like an idea of what we want. So does that mean the policy?
So some of the
change?
things that we specifically want to discuss with her that came up earlier this evening are, it still seems to be the case that police officers are not clear about what the varmint policy allows them to do and not do on our sites. And so we want to have a discussion about how we get clear and get everybody trained on that. We want to have a conversation about we want to know more about what their plans are and her plans are for policing in our communities, because I don't have a clear sense of that now, and given what has been going on, we want to understand what plans they have to address it and how can we be better partners. I've certainly heard, you know, we want to have more of a presence in a positive way in our communities. We've certainly seen that over the summer, but the enforcement side I understand a little bit less about, and I would, I think in order for us to be a good partner, in order for us to figure out who's doing what role-wise going forward and making our residents feel more secure in the neighborhoods that they live in. So I think.
Are we discussing we're not discussing cameras, or we're not discussing policy?
And
I'm not trying to say that being like rude.
We
I'm just
asking.
asking.
We
So was
brought
she
that
asking?
up, that was a point that we brought up last summer. We had said, I'm sorry for the repeat for everybody, but just to catch you up.
My apologies.
We said that we were waiting for the Crescent Halls camera system, the upgraded system to go into place with additional cameras, and that would be our sort of our pilot to review. Those cameras have been up and running and in action for about 2 months now, so it's a really good time for us to review that and then to look at where we might run a couple other pilot projects on other sites while we have conversations about a policy. So cameras are definitely back on the table.
Gotcha.
In addition to the conversations that we've had about, you know, we said we got to use the tools we have in the toolbox first. Parking policy enforcement, lease enforcement. You know, really using those tools, and we still have a mixed record on our success along those lines, but that's part of the conversation with police, because varmint plays a big role in lease enforcement.
Got you.
And that
Did I get all of that right?
I would say, and you could let her know, Grant has brought up trying to find money to hire a private more private security, so we'd like to talk to the police if they could do it.
Great.
Right, what is
That
the
would
role
be
of Millennium?
ideal, you know.
Do we need to get serious about extending?
Do
or
we want
finding
Millennium at the
private
meeting?
securities? We
They're
have
coming.
discussed having Millennium at the meeting.
Yeah. They will be at the meeting.
Are you reaching out? Are you?
Yep, I got it. All right. I'm gonna try and have the towing company be represented at the
good.
meeting as well. All right?
Okay. Great. Thank you. I want to, maybe all of us just to think a little bit, so maybe we'll move on to the next agenda item, and if other thoughts or concerns come up, we'll have opportunity at the end to bring those, because there's been a lot going around tonight. So thank you all. And thanks to everybody in the audience for being so willing to have the conversation with us. Mr. Duffield, next on our agenda is the 5-year plan process. If you want to, I'll
Yeah.
turn it over to you if you want to
Sure.
talk a little bit about that.
Certainly. And coming your way is a memo that describes, sort of sets out the initial annual plan / 5-year plan development process. We have scheduled community meetings the next 2 weeks. at this point involving Crescent Halls, West Haven, South First Street. We are arranging for meetings at 6th Street, Riverside, Mickey, and Madison. But initially, it's where the initial meetings will take place. The memo that's before you this evening maps out the timeline for plan approval. It references annual plan. Again, the same is true for the 5-year plan. We need to be in a place to submit the documents to HUD December 31st of this year in order for them to be reviewed and approved by HUD prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year, April 1st, 2019. In your packages, in the jacket sleeve, is a 5-year plan, areas of action, categories. This document, I think it's also in the document that was available for the public. This is a summary of the discussions that, action points that the commission developed during a meeting at Crescent Halls on May 31st, 2018. Involved several commissioners as well as members of the public. I think this probably represents a good starting point as we discuss the 5-year plan and how we want to delve into the major topics that we want to see addressed in the 5-year plan, which then the annual plan can be crafted to support. Chairwoman Jones, I will turn back to you. I think like to, if we want to go through the 5-year plan action areas, or do we want to proceed at this point? Or at this point, does the commission simply wish to take this as information and begin to work through this during the community meetings and in the subsequent commission meetings?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Duffield.
Certainly.
I want to say, we started this process by meeting with a handful of residents who were at Crescent Halls and with FAR, really to begin to lay out a strategy for getting input for a 5-year plan. And we looked at some example plans from other housing authorities and looked at our old plan, which we really don't want to pick up with again, but there are some action items that need to get carried over, but felt like it would be a much more resident-friendly, user-friendly document if we could identify some primary areas of importance that we were focusing our work on over the next couple of years, and then begin to put in goals, and under those goals, actual action items over time. And so this is the result of, about an hour going through what has been in our previous plans, some ideas that we loved from the other plans that we wanted to see incorporated, but certainly understanding that this needs a lot of input and massaging. And so I guess we just welcome either now or at one of the upcoming meetings any input that the commissioners have on these areas of focus, and then, beyond that, the things that might get included within them. If you have thoughts that jump out at you right now of what's missing, or what's too much, let us know. Otherwise, we'll talk about these in depth at our next round of meetings, and there may be the opportunity really to sort of, some of these that are really deep, to sort of pull out and have whole meetings on if necessary.
Who's going to be at the meetings? Will it just be staff or Mr. Duffield, or
Yeah.
on the 29th and 5th?
Yeah, it's staff and for resident input.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But we should certainly, we will this is the beginning of those conversations. Expect a long conversation at our September board meeting about what we learned and about this document as it gets fleshed out. So September board meeting will focus on that. And if needed, a following workshop in early October. And really, I will want to ensure that we, just keep having those conversations. So if we need to go back out for another round of a couple meetings in October, we can do that as well. Let's see how it goes, these 3 meetings and then our board meeting.
Well, and hopefully, as has been in the past, and Ms. Johnson as Chair of Resident Services, help us entertain these discussions as well during the Resident Services meeting. I think those have been very helpful in the past.
And a reminder that at our September board meeting, we'll also be adopting the update to the HCV plan. All that work that we did earlier this summer, that 45-day comment period is ending, and we'll be adopting the final changes there at that meeting. So make sure you're here in September.
So when we talk, like, I'm looking at the youth programming and the senior programming, as we think about redevelopment, I think the age group that we continue to miss in our community is the 13 to 17-year-old. And I'd like us to start focusing a little bit more on what we can do as we do redevelopment, and even now. Because that's the age group that we seem to be missing. They never have anything to do. There's not a lot in this community or in the area for them to do. So let's start focusing on programming for that age group.
Thank you. Are there comments or questions now about this? Are we feeling okay?
Yeah, looks
Great. Do any of you have a sense about whether or not you're available for the meetings on the 29th, 5th, or 6th?
I'll be on vacation the 5th and the 6th.
Oh, good for you.
Vacation?
I don't get to take as many as you, but yeah.
I didn't say anything. All I asked you,
You get to
So-
go-
other thing I said was
I didn't
vacation.
get to go to New York to Beyonce and all of that. I didn't- I'm not gonna
You
be-
didn't want to go.
Not gonna be doing it.
I didn't know you wanted to go.
Well,
Please.
I didn't know you was part of the Beehive.
I was just in Columbia, South Carolina this weekend and was surprised to hear they canceled school. All public schools were closed the day of the Beyonce concert in Columbia, South Carolina.
Really?
Yeah,
What, for traffic?
for traffic.
Yeah. Key to the city. Mayor Benjamin.
Oh, I thought it so all the kids could go.
I doubt
They
it.
had a ton. No, they had a ton of free tickets though.
Oh, good.
I can be there on the 5th.
Great.
I won't be able to make it on the 6th,
5th and 6th, I could plan on being there.
You, okay.
and I won't be able to make the 29th.
The 29th is tough for me also. Is there any board member who can be there on the 29th?
If nobody can, I'll
Maybe.
try to make it work.
Do we think Ms. Slaughter might be available?
I would hope so.
We'll ask her specifically.
Yeah.
And I know you've already got a lot of meetings, but if you're available on the 29th.
I'm not trying to do no work.
Before you go on vacation, you're taking a work vacation. Fair
That's
enough.
good.
I will also, I most likely will be able to be there on the 5th.
Okay.
I can probably do the 6th. I can't do
Okay.
the 5th.
Okay. So, good, well, that's at least one of us at each
Right,
meeting,
yeah.
which I think is really important.
Might check with Ms. Talbot.
Yeah.
And yes, I will send it to Ms. Talbert and see what days she can join us. And you said the 29th, Mr. Osteen? I'm sorry.
29th is not good, but if nobody's there, I can make arrangements.
Well, let's check with Ms. Talbert and Ms. Slaughter, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Great, thank you all. Next on our agenda is an update on the city rental assistance voucher program. Is this a good time?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to put Ms. Jackson on the spot here in just a moment, but I will sort of give something of an introduction. As the commission's aware, clearly aware, the city of Charlottesville has allocated $900,000 during this current fiscal year to support a Charlottesville supplemental rental assistance program that is administered by CRHA. As part of that approval process, there were a number of target levels established for family and individual eligibility, as well as a certain amount of constraint, if you will, to reserve funding such that families served during the current fiscal year may still be able to receive funding in a subsequent fiscal year if perhaps the council did not reauthorize the $900,000 in the coming fiscal year. Does that make sense? It's kind of convoluted, but yeah. Essentially what that boils down to is we had the $900,000 allocated. If memory serves, 700,000, maybe 7.25, was deemed available for use during this current fiscal year to serve families. We had initially projected about 120 families could be served with the reservation in place. We project that about between 70 and 80 families are able to be served. Currently, we have almost 50 families, just between 45 and 50 families, who currently have leases and are being served by the rental assistance program. And that has been as of basically March 1st of this year to date. So 4 months, 5 months, yeah. We have approximately 20 more individuals, families, who are approved but are actively seeking leasing. If all of those are successful, that puts our total served number right around 70 families. Yeah, that's where we stand today. We certainly have more individuals who are interested in the program and would like to take advantage of the opportunity. We have to be extremely careful that we don't overpromise, basically, on the funding piece. So it's sort of a delicate process at this point. Potentially, we may be able to increase eligibility by a few additional applicants, but doing so, sort of places us at risk for how, if we're able to serve the existing families or everyone. Currently, we're spending a little over $25,000 per month in rental assistance. We have been allocated $300,000 by the city through the drawdown process. The drawdowns arrive in $150,000 installments. Once we have reached a projected need for a 12-month period of the $150,000, we then go back to the city and say, okay, that $150,000 is encumbered. We haven't spent it all, but it is pledged, right, going forward for the next year. They release another $150,000 to us to be able to then, again, serve the population. So as we sit here today, I would say we probably are in the $260,000, $270,000 neighborhood of encumbered allocated funding on the 45 to 50 families. Yeah, I think we will. I absolutely know that there is need and demand for the full 700,000 spend during the fiscal year. It's how do we get there responsibly? Does that make sense, please? And if there's something that's unclear, if we have any questions about it, I'm going to throw them to LaToya, and she can take the heat.
Yeah, right back there, LaToya.
Right.
I got questions.
Yes.
Are people having trouble leasing up?
Yes. There are two obstacles that folks face. There is, as we all know, there is a dearth of truly affordable rental housing in Charlottesville, Albemarle area. The way the program is structured, someone gets approved to participate in the program. They have 90 days. 90 days. You need to come up here. If you're going to talk, you need to come up here, all right? 90 days to seek housing within Charlottesville. If they are unable to, they can petition for an extended 90-day period, during which time they can then search in Albemarle.
Right. And part of that is because it's city funds, we have to make the priority that they look in Charlottesville first.
Sure.
But essentially, I don't know, Ms. LaToya, speak to it, but it creates somewhat of an issue because it seems like the city, we're using city funds, and people are going and getting places in the county, and the county isn't putting anything into it. So basically, we're footing that bill without them putting anything.
And that's certainly valid. I think one of the things, it's all a learning process. And one of the things that we've talked about, maybe we tweak that program so that it is a live-work in Charlottesville. If you have somebody that is working in Charlottesville, even if they're living in Albemarle County, they're certainly spending, investing in that area. So that's the one obstacle. The second obstacle, very really, is the down payment, the security deposit challenge that folks face. And
what dollar amount security deposits are they looking at when they?
CRHA has nothing to do with their security
Right.
deposit. It goes with the leasing company. Whatever the
So
leasing company is asking them for, that's
Yeah.
what they have to secure.
well,
But
and what
typically it's
and
like
I'm
a month,
It's
Month
usually,
rent.
Usually a month rent.
I think.
So, and what I've heard and what
It's a
I
lot.
see is, folks will say, look, it's costing me money to move. I have utility deposits. I've got, first month's, sometimes last month's, and a security deposit. I just can't swing all of that. I can get most of it, but when it comes down to it, it's the security deposit that is preventing me from being able to use the voucher. And so, that's part of another discussion we're having on the hack level.
So the vouchers are only 12 months lease up?
And I guess that's probably the third obstacle there is, because we have funding
That was set
commitment
up for
for,
failure.
yeah.
That was set up for failure.
It's,
I'm sorry, but that was set up for failure.
Well, what were we supposed to do?
The people that's got these vouchers are asking the same thing. What are we supposed to do?
I mean,
So-
it's very
go ahead.
explained to them when they come to briefing.
oh, yeah.
that- This program is only a year program.
Yeah.
We don't know. I have questions of, are we gonna be refunded back up? I don't know that answer
Right.
right now to
Right.
them. But that is stressed a lot. This is a year program. You're responsible for your rent if it does not pan out after that year.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
So
that said, I mean, certainly
Yeah.
city council, it
We-
is our hope that city council will be renewing the funding.
Right.
And hopefully increasing.
So the funding, I mean, I can't, so legally, we can't bind, another council, or even like in this kind of, ordeal, we council can't say that, yeah, we're gonna do it like for 20 straight years.
Right.
But when this was put together, it was with the expectation that this will be ongoing. So no, I only can speak for one, and I'm rather confident that there will be funding, ongoing funding, for those who are in the program. I don't think the funding is the issue. The issue is the being able to get the housing. The funding will be there, but the housing part is the problem.
And we've
And-
been in
and
the
we know
program.
that from the get-go, so that's the setup for failure.
Well, okay,
So-
but let's be clear, the program's been in operation less than 6 months, and we've already issued almost all of the vouchers.
The vouchers,
I mean,
yeah.
we've
So it's
issued a
working.
lot, and there's a lot of, I mean, it's totally, people are getting into housing. We don't yet have numbers for you on how much is landing in the Charlottesville and how much in Albemarle. We'll get that for you. But it's clearly working, it's clearly moving people off of our wait list. It is a success, there's no doubt. And for
Right.
the 50 families who have housing today,
Oh, they're very
it's a
happy.
huge success.
I like
Right.
to see those numbers. Y'all talking trash. I like to see those numbers.
Yeah,
What
and we can get them. But I guess I had a question, which was, and I think it's something for the board to discuss. When the program was passed, we said the eligibility rules would follow our HCV federal eligibility rules. We are in the process of adopting a new HCV plan
True.
with an entirely new way to go about eligibility with the preference system that we've adopted. And so there will actually be a numbered wait list, which we didn't have before, right? And so does that, how will that affect the city voucher program? Is that a decision that we get to make, or is it one that needs to go back to the HAC and council when it comes to eligibility? I mean, I think in our contract it just says, follow your LCV
Yeah,
eligibility.
Yeah.
But we are, so I'm just gonna parking lot that question, we don't have to answer it tonight, but I do wanna bring it up. It's not gonna affect the families who are out on
Who are
the
here
street
now,
right now.
right.
But it may affect the next generation, iteration of funding, if there are more vouchers. You know, at this point, if we lease 70 vouchers, we spend all the money, when you re-up it, it's just keeping those 70 families in housing. It's not getting additional families beyond that 70 into housing,
Right.
right?
So I have two questions.
And
Oh,
unless they get to move to Section 8.
So, one question. I'm somewhat concerned, I've been hearing these rumors, I don't know how true it is, that county residents have been using the vouchers. Can we speak to that? Or?
If they were already referred to me from a program and they were leased up, I was told to let them go ahead through the program.
What do you, so explain it. So a
Okay,
program,
so if, because PVCC Self-Sufficient was one of our programs
Right.
that referred people.
That's right.
If they were already housed in somewhere where their lease couldn't be broken, then yes, they were, if they were in the county, they did get the funding.
That's correct. If they were, one of the target criteria, eligibility that the program established was, correct me if, was it 20 self-sufficiency? I believe that's right. 20 individuals enrolled in self-sufficiency programs. We reserved supplemental rental assistance for those individuals. And that can be cities' GO programs, it can be through DSS programs, it can be through PVCC. Yeah, if those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then the question for me, I mean, it's not a question from here, but I'm just again perplexed as to why the county won't chip in and we don't ask them.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Not we,
yeah.
I mean, like, they don't often get challenged on this.
Yeah.
It's just like the city council needs to do that, and like we putting in money, but I don't get why doesn't anyone ask the county? So essentially, we're paying for county residents as well. They don't bring any resources to the table. We're putting in like triple the amount, but no one's asking them. I'm not frustrated with you. I mean, you're doing what you were told to do, and this is your
Let
job.
us get you the numbers so you can make the request to county.
Well,
So
Sure.
as of today, I have 14 of my 45 participants that are actually receiving, living in the county. Either they were already leased there, or they have extended their 90-day city search, and were granted their 90-day.
So you know
Search
that
first.
14
Yes.
of your 45.
Yes.
Well, 14 of 45 or 14 of all 70, if it's people who are
14
still
of my
out.
45 that is already leased,
Oh,
and
right.
receiving those substances are living in Albemarle County.
Okay. So a third.
Yeah.
so my biggest concern is, we see public housing residents, working families who have vouchers, who have moved out of public housing, who are struggling. They're struggling. So for me, when you're saying you're not sure, you think they might, pay for these vouchers for the next 12 months after the first 12 months. But if they don't, then we have homeless families. You don't have a waiting list, then you have homeless families. And that's what my biggest concern is.
So legally I'm not allowed to say like I guarantee you
Well,
that
and
they're
I
gonna be there,
understand
but
what you're saying, but when you say that to me, then that worries me.
Yes, ma'am.
About these people who's signing up for 12 months and making sure that they understand, they clearly understand that they're there for 12 months. To move and keep moving for 12 months, that's a lot of moving. When you have to do your utilities, you have to do your moving, you have to do all of this stuff for 12 months, and then you find out that, 12 months down the road, you're not gonna have that money to keep that roof over your head, so now you're homeless,
yes, ma'am.
However, I mean, yes, all those limitations are there. Yes, there's some advocacy work that we can do to support council in their efforts in the next budgeting session to ensure that this funding continues. I believe this board is strongly behind that. But we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater because
Right.
this is still 70 families.
Yeah,
that
who
were
wouldn't have
in
had
just
housing.
as tenuous, if not more tenuous situations before. And
Oh, yeah.
now hopefully they're in a program that, with the council that we have here, I do have hope. We'll find a way to continue it. And I think then the request to council is, I understand you can't, through the budget process you're using to fund this program now, encumber future councils. Is there a funding process? Is there something that council can put into place that takes this yearly question off the table?
Yeah.
Is there something like the housing trust fund that was created, which doesn't encumber council year to year, but there are things that are, say, a certain amount is always gonna go, and everybody, that we can set aside for these kinds of, this program. And I'm just putting that out there, let's get creative, because now we really do have families that we're responsible for.
Yeah, no, those are great suggestions. I don't take offense or feel slighted at all. I think everything that you're saying, I mean, it makes sense. I'm looking forward to talking more with Ms. Kelly and Dr. Pathia about how we can work out solutions. And also, I would apologize to the board if my tone was as if like I'm not happy with the fact that 70 families are indeed in a much better spot, because that's huge, and we fought hard to get this. I just do think that even through this discussion, we found some chinks in the armor that we need to clean up.
And does the budgeting cycle, just the date, I'm sure this has been thought out, but that I would hope that those families get enough advance notice, because I know a lot of landlords want 2-3 months advance before you move or you continue your lease. So we have to make sure the council's decisions can get timed into those decisions each year, because that's going to be,
First month's rent and deposit, right?
yeah,
Which could be $1,000 or more.
yeah. So they need some advance warning even if they're just waiting to hear a yes, just to give them that.
Thank you for the update. Is there anything else that you know that you think we need to know?
Other than LaToya's doing an awesome job administering the program, right? You need to say that.
Great job, Latoya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, right now everybody's doing good. I have a wait list currently. I actually have 18 more participants coming in to an eligibility meeting this week
Wow.
to see about putting them on into the program, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah. It just occurred to me that as we adopt new eligibility guidelines, folks who get the city rental assistance vouchers remain on the federal HCV voucher list.
That's correct.
So it is possible that they could come up and get a HCV federal voucher.
That's right.
Which would then free up a city voucher.
Right.
Yep.
However, when we adopt new eligibility guidelines, they will no longer rise to the top of the list because they are housed.
I don't know. I don't,
I'm sorry, that is a
No.
question. I stated it as a fact. It is a question. It is something we need to investigate. We need to investigate the implications
This
of
is
the
messy.
proposed priority system for eligibility on the families who are receiving this assistance. Question, just big question. So if we can dig into that, thank you. Okay. We are moving right along. I am wondering if you all would be willing to take a 2-minute break? Or if you'd be willing to allow me a 2-minute break and you can continue without me. I'll be right back. Literally 2 minutes. It's 7:47. We'll be back at 7:50.
So,
minutes.
just
right.
FYI, Chief Brackney,
Yeah?
she can't make Wednesday at noon. She said, can the meeting be held after 2?
I can't remember now what everyone had.
Grant and had something at 2.
You have something at 3:30. We could talk to her without you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, like, I don't want, I wouldn't want anybody to, like, not have to be.
I mean, it's.
How about what?
Oh my goodness.
I held it up. Need a shot of gin?
Yeah.
No.
You write them down? Got a list?
Oh, yeah, she was describing them, like, okay.
We're getting there. We're gonna move right on to redevelopment, resident services, executive director.
Oh, my gosh.
report.
Oh, why don't you do resident services first and let George, how you do it?
I'm good, I'm getting a little,
Oh, should we move her up? Ms. Johnson,
Ms. Johnson?
would you like me to move resident services report to right now?
Yes.
Or would you like to leave and Miss Audrey will do it?
No.
All right, I will call us back to order, and we're going to rearrange the agenda briefly so Ms. Johnson can give us the Resident Services Committee report, which you'll find under tab 2.
Would that be my blue sheet?
No.
Well, give me your tab too. Let me give you your number.
give me tabbed.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's all right.
All right,
Oh, I see it.
sorry. All right, my name is Joy Johnson. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Resident Services Meeting. Sometime back, we had been talking about really making sure that, well, there was a lot of questions about Mr. Bellamy calling?
He's on the phone.
There's been a lot of questions about what is the function of the Resident Services Committee, and also about the structure of it. And we had talked before that it's an arm of the Housing Authority Board, and that its charge was because back when Rick Jones, Commissioner Jones, was on the Housing Authority Board, because the meetings would go for a long time just in public comment. He basically said, you know, we should just have a committee that says Resident Services Committee and have a venue where people can come and vent their frustration or their concerns. Then that comes back to the board, and we can bring recommendation back to the board, and then the board can change policies or whatever to try to deal with some of those issues. And we've been struggling over the years just to be able to do that, because a lot of times what end up happening is just it's a report in the board package, but there's no action to whatever gets brought back. So we had done a workshop when Connie Dunn was here, and then we asked Ms. Karen Waters-Wicks, who was the facilitator of that, to come back and do a workshop. And so she did a workshop, and one of the things that came out of that workshop was that we actually planned for the whole year the Resident Services Committee meetings and where they were going to be. And so that was a plus. There were some other things that we were going to really talk about, but because of the 11th and 12th, which was on everybody's mind, that was we talked more about that. So we talked a little bit about. So it's more to come on about that work plan. There is a work plan, and we're going to be spreading it out. Hopefully, September meeting, we will start looking more on the other pieces of the work plan that will come. So stay tuned. And we did talk about West Haven Community Day, the community calendars, and again, the August 12th, 11th and 12th, you know, there was an update about who was going to be there, Millennium, the whole 9 yards. The West Haven Nursing Clinic, we did introduce Sharon Beth, who is the new nurse, and Harriet Carter was the winner of the raffle. We will be meeting again September the
13th
at 6th Street.
So it's moving to 6th Street.
It's
now.
moving to 6th Street.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any questions for me?
No, but reading the report again reminded me that I forgot to say thank you to everyone for all the effort that went into West Haven Day. It was
Sure, yeah, and I got pat myself on the back, 'cause nobody wanted to, be on that budget committee with me. I was a committee of one, and they said we raised over $12,000. That's for me hijacking people and asking to write me a check and give me money.
yeah.
But, so we, we will have an update about what was spent because we had to pay a lot of people and what we have for next year.
Awesome.
So, and we had, 68 donations, bingo prizes.
Oh, we had a lot.
It was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so over, we had about 68 prizes, but one of the things was, my daughter helped, along with my granddaughter and this young lady, what's her name again? Angelina helped. They were the volunteers. I want to say to Christian Davis, because we had a real super volunteer who coordinate volunteer time
Yeah.
and T-shirt, and it just worked. She did a wonderful job, and but everyone in the on bingo, no one walked. Everybody won a prize and walked away, whether they have bingo or not, and that was really to the volunteers. So thank you to the volunteers. Thanks for everybody who put in the effort of putting up with me, because they said I was volunteering people what to do. So thank everybody for your help.
Yes, well, thank
Okay.
yes, thank you.
All right.
And thanks for being here tonight, Ms. Johnson. And we will now go back on our agenda to the redevelopment committee report, which we don't have a written report. Mr. Osteen, would you like to tell us about?
Well, we're really kind of between big events, but the RFP is in the hands of 6 proposers, and we will be receiving those on August 30th, and the committee is scheduled to get together on September 4th to review those proposals and rank them. I imagine we would rank them and potentially talk to 1 or 2 prior to making a decision and bringing that to the next board meeting after that.
That's right. So in addition to the other very important items we're discussing in September, atop of the agenda will be a review and approval, perhaps, of a development partner for our first foray into redevelopment.
I just want the record to state that is outstanding. That is absolutely phenomenal news to hear. I wish the media was here to report on that, because that is phenomenal work. So kudos to everyone on the development committee. That I can't even, I'm kind of speechless. I'm just really, really, really proud of you all. It's further along than we've been ever. Yeah. I mean, people talk about, all of this stuff like this should be happening. I'm not going to say names, but there have been other electeds who were sitting up here before, and they would say, we were working on it. Why can't you guys get it? But you all are actually doing it, and it's
It didn't
almost
happen until
here.
you were here.
No, definitely not gonna. No, we're not gonna do that. But I'm very, 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 very proud of you all. Very proud of y'all. It's music to the ears.
Well, I do thank you for saying that, and I really
Good job.
want to say that we've had great support from our staff and from Ms. Kelly with the city, but that we have gotten here almost entirely on the efforts of volunteers. Volunteers and residents who have come out regularly through frustrating meetings, through long meetings, really getting to this point, and board members and community members who have put hundreds of hours to getting here. And it's not often that a development effort is entirely launched on volunteers. And so, but excitingly, we won't be all volunteer labor for long. Mr. Duffield, do you want to tell us a little bit about where we are with staffing?
No, that's right. As we, again, just to follow on, it's, the redevelopment committee process, as many of you know, has been just an amazing process to be a part of, to have seen some of the real contention at times, competing interests at times, and the fact that the residents, FAR, Housing Authority, city remained around the table together and committed to the betterment of our community on behalf of the residents. I mean, that's just, it's chilling, and it's fantastic, and I can't thank FAR enough for having been such a central, pivotal partner through the positive vision, the work with CACF, work with Redevelopment Committee, and all of the partners coming together. Yeah, solid. To that end, much volunteer efforts going on up to this point. As Mr. Osteen stated, on Thursday, we expect to receive a number of proposals from developers. We have a surveying contract that's out. We have an environmental services contract that is out related to these efforts. We will have a subdivision application to make before the city. We'll have a demo dispo application to make for HUD in the very near future. We need to be able to begin projecting funding streams and strategizing, really boots on the ground, how we get new development moving forward. All of that placed on the shoulders of Dave Norris. So if it's successful, it's Dave's. If it's not, it's Dave's. No, I'm just kidding. No, Dave Norris has joined us on a part-time, as full-time, part-time person, resource, 30 hours a week at this point, to provide redevelopment coordination to help support the efforts of the redevelopment committee, the CRHA staff, certainly the CACF grant process as well. His initial focus is going to be some of the initial relocation planning efforts. There's a lot of demographic work that needs to go into that. Riding shotgun on contract management for contracts that we currently have in place, working with Ms. Kelly and our partners at HSF Consultants to determine what type of contract vehicles need to be in place as we go forward with our redevelopment partners. Certainly a full plate, but I couldn't be happier that he's on board. Do you want to come up and say a few words, or sing a few bars, or I don't know what? No, okay, all right. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
And
More music to the ear.
Tomorrow, we do have a redevelopment committee meeting at noon, and we will be focusing on relocation principles. So excited to have that conversation tomorrow.
I have one question. Is there any way we can put this in like a press release? I don't know if like just a press release, but just to get the information out, because I think there's a lot of members of the community who don't know that all of this work is going on, and we're on the cusp of literally we're there. Like, people don't know. So when they always ask what's going on or this or that, like, we know that we're further along than ever, but you know, it's often that the bad stuff, if a AC unit goes out, we're gonna hear that's front page, but this work, the tangible work here, is being done, and I feel like it needs to be highlighted.
I would say we got a couple of real landmark dates coming up, and I think, you know, some of those, I mean,
Great.
either receipt or selection, certainly.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
So we can put it out on social media?
Sure.
Like,
Public
like,
information.
I'm just
You know I am.
like,
It's going out.
because the residents, like, I'm sorry, the residents need this information, so do you want, I could go out there and make flyers and do that and make sure people.
Bless you.
If that's what you want,
I think,
or if that's not what you want.
well, I think the resident engagement pieces that are critical that you're talking about, I think those are things that FAR absolutely is taking the lead on. If you can coordinate, with them, it'd be outstanding.
Coordinating with them, and then also I believe that Enterprise is scheduling dates to come to Charlottesville to also work on the resident engagement piece. I heard in Mr. Bellamy's comments a lot more about sort of letting the broader community know, and perhaps his colleagues on council giving them a sense of the
Definitely.
of the progress that has been made in the past 6 months. And so we can certainly, maybe it's not a press release so much as just a summary report.
Yeah, summary. Yeah.
That you could share with some of your colleagues.
That would be great. I mean, I know we have the upcoming session on Wednesday with everybody or whatever, the housing meeting. But it
Oh,
would
you
be
mean
great.
Thursday, the hack?
Thursday, excuse me. The meetings.
Thursday at 5?
Yeah, they all run together.
I think that's right, I know,
Yeah.
I think that's sort of, but yes, maybe the redevelopment committee, we can figure out a way to come up, just even with a 1 or 2 page summary.
Yeah.
Just some,
Just to say,
yeah.
be great.
Great, thank you. Enterprise, anybody want to speak to where we are and plans there?
I'm sort of out of the loop. All I heard is they were looking at a couple dates
Yeah. And
coming up, so.
I don't have the dates in front of me. I'm going to turn, Brandon, do you recall? Within the
Enterprise
next,
Strengthening System,
yeah,
that's the enterprise we're talking
right.
about.
Within the next month, 3 weeks to a month, we anticipate Enterprise will be on site. Well, actually, within the next 3 months, they've committed to be on site 3 times.
Yeah.
So with the first of those meetings occurring, I believe, in early September. To begin working closely with FAR and the project team, again, working on the elements of the CACF grant. I'm sorry, I should have those dates in front of me, and I just don't.
I don't even, I know there were dates.
Let's have them for the redevelopment committee meeting tomorrow.
Great.
Awesome, thank you. And are there other redevelopment comments, questions, things we need to share tonight? Great. There is lots going on. We are meeting tomorrow. We have another set meeting on the 18th of September. And that gives a couple of weeks in between for the review committee to do their work. Executive Director's Report. Mr. Duffield, would you want to
Yeah, thank you. I'll be,
walk us through tab 3?
I will be relatively brief. Behind tab 3 is the Executive Director's Report for the period July 23rd, 2018 to August 24th, 2018. As I begin, one of the initial bullet points you see relates to August 12th, security. I absolutely need to take a moment, and I think the commission needs to recognize the fact that there was tremendous community effort and support around ensuring security for public housing residents and public housing sites during the weekend of August 11 and 12 this year. Most particularly, I'd say Brandon, I know Brandon and his family were actually on sites. And we had staff on sites. Millennium Security was on site as well. Ms. Rosita, I know, was very active during the weekend, all of which I hope helped create an environment that I hope provided some additional sense of security for those potentially most affected And it's absolutely something that I hope the commission recognizes and joins me in applauding. So, anyway.
Yes.
Right,
Thank
good.
you.
Now, additionally, we've had REAC inspections completed at South First Street. We are still awaiting the final scoring for both South First Street, 6th Street, and West Haven. However, our early indications are that we were successful in the inspection process there. West Haven Community Day, talked about, tremendous success. Many thanks to Ms. Johnson and Farr for bringing that off. Let's see, West Haven tree efforts I need to absolutely pick up on that. There's some closeout work that's being done with the standard building that will result in some additional trees being added. As we look at other items, we've got the surveyor work that's underway. We've got the floor project at Crescent Halls has been completed. Thanks, Mr. Bellamy. We continued working with Ting on contract negotiations for internet access. We will interview this week for candidates for Director of Housing Services. Much going on that is occupying our time at this point. On the fiscal side of the house, page 3 of 51, your all-site roll-up. At this point, through the fiscal year, through July, you're 4 months through the fiscal year. All right. Yes. We should be at a 33% benchmark on our annual year-to-date revenue and expenditure. As you can see on the roll-up for the year-to-date, we're at 31% of projected revenue received. We're actually at 33% of our projected expenditures. At this point, the close of this period, we're running a slight deficit, largely related to additional utility costs and costs incurred. Additional maintenance, we would anticipate those to balance out over the course of the year. So while it does show a deficit, it is not alarming at this point. The remaining data shows for each of the sites themselves. As you look at page 13 of 51, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, we are, again, keep that 33% number in mind. We've earned 31% of the revenue we anticipated and expended 29% of our projected expenses. We show a slight gain on the HCV program side year to date. The last page, pages 15 and 16 of 51 reflect the central office operations to date, and those are favorable. Overall, the Housing Authority is running year-to-date positive of a little over $40,000. Ms. Jones, that's everything I think I can present this evening. Okay, I'm sorry.
Which is a win.
Well, it's trending correctly, so yeah, that's good. But we need to have some operational opportunities and challenges, but yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Duffield. I do believe in his comments, Mr. Collins
asked about vacancies, and if you just want to walk us through a little bit about where we are on our turns and on our big substantial rehab project.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, our vacancy numbers are elevated at this point. I think as we sit here today, and I believe we have 46 vacancies showing on the rolls today. And I'm sorry my staff's on, but of those, I believe 23 of those fall into a category of substantial rehab that we're currently working with Habitat on. We have another 3 units that are vacated due to tree damage at West Haven, which I'll speak to in just a moment. It leaves us with an operational of about 19 or 20 units. The turn process has been slowed in recent weeks as emphasis has been placed on REAC preparation, unfortunately. I know that we have 5 additional units that are either ready or we anticipate having ready by the close of this week. I feel like we'll be able to bring the sort of operational vacancy number down beneath 10 in the very near future. Now, on the substantial rehab units, I know we have 2 units that have been cleared by Habitat for Humanity, CRHA, in that process. I know we have 2 more units that are just about to be released to come back into the housing stock. If you haven't had an opportunity to see any of those, you need to forward some pictures. The work there is just phenomenal. It's been outstanding. Yeah, the work that our construction assistants are doing is significant. It is certainly noteworthy. So need to provide a greater update on that at the coming meeting. On the tree damage at West Haven, we incurred on July 5th. We actually have the insurance adjuster and the engineer, the contractor, be on site tomorrow. They've had some challenges obtaining plans and permitting. I think they've overcome those. We should see work begin on those very soon. One of the buildings they anticipate having back online within the next 30 days. The other, I believe the 836 building units is probably a 60-day push before those come back online. But yeah, that's
So who's doing the work on those? Is Habitat doing that too?
No, that's a private contractor that the insurance company has retained. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you. Are there other questions from commissioners? Mr. Duffield?
Just one quick question. Well, never mind. I could be safe for other business.
Okay. Are there questions about the executive director's report? Great. Mr. Duffield, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks to you and your staff for
No,
all the work. There's been a lot going on.
no, thank you. Thank you for your support.
So now is the opportunity for other business, Mr. Bellamy?
I have 2 things. Received a communication back from Chief Brackney. She asked if the meeting could actually be at 2. She said she can make it there at 2:15. She literally has meetings up until that time.
You have a 2 o'clock meeting, Mr. Duffield?
I do, but perhaps the larger group could stay, and
How long do you think your 2 o'clock meeting will be?
that may be a 45-minute.
Yeah.
I'm not available at 3, but
Okay.
if everybody else is, I would much rather Mr. Duffield be there than me. I don't need to be.
I know I can't.
Oh,
Well,
you
we have-
city
yeah, we have
council
city
at 3.
councils, yeah.
Okay. Should we check Thursday, or you're not available Thursday?
Let's go ahead and meet as a group with who we can. If I have to step out, Chief Brackney can be there. I'm comfortable that the commission and staff and other representatives can certainly carry the conversation with the chief as well.
Okay,
So it's 2 instead of,
2 o'clock instead of noon?
yeah.
No, that's right.
Yeah, that's what she specifically requested.
That's what she's requested, yeah.
She's
Okay.
requesting 2 o'clock.
Okay,
So at 2 o'clock, commission can be there, but you cannot.
yeah.
Is that true for?
Nor
the
can
rest?
Brandon. If that- I mean,
Right.
Can y'all's meeting be rescheduled?
So who can be there?
I
I'll be
can
there.
be there.
You'll be there, I'll be there,
I can be there for a while at
you'll
2.
be there.
I can be
You
there.
can't be there at all.
I can be there at 2, I can't be there at 3. So
Oh,
2 is
okay,
fine.
Yeah,
2 is fine, except for Mr. Duffield and Mr. Collins.
and then you need to tap into Ms. Talbot
And Ms.
and.
Slaughter.
Slaughter. What?
At West Haven.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Take 2 o'clock?
she
I think we
just-
ought to meet the chief at who we can meet. I mean, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
imagine her schedule is very difficult, so if she's offering 2, I think we take it.
Okay, and again, it's just the beginning of the process. This worries you?
No. Let me see if there's any way,
Well, and you
all
all
that-
can
yeah.
join.
that we
Join
can
when you
make something
can.
happen. Okay, yeah.
And
Move
it's,
forward.
perhaps some property managers can be
Yep.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. that one.
Okay. And then, well, all right, so we said to.
She actually said 2:15, didn't she?
Yeah, she said her meeting finishes here at, she said like 1:50, 1:55, 2 o'clock, she's hoping. She's like, that gives her time to get over there.
Well, we'll start at 2
Okay.
and be ready when she gets there.
There you have it.
Okay.
So one other item, so Mr. Duffield and I, we've been talking about computer tech courses for our housing residents. So I have an organization, We Code 2, which is a program for African American and Latino young folks creating a pipeline for coding and programming. So we have partners. I saw this thing in South Carolina in which they do Google Digital Tools for everyday tasks. So we've talked about doing something similar here for our public housing sites, potentially 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, from roughly 6 to 7:30, and I'll send all this information to you. Just want to give you guys an update since Mr. Duffield and I have talked. So essentially what would happen is we would provide the laptops, and you would allow roughly 8 to 10 residents to come. It's like an 8-week course, so you continuously come every week, and you learn Google digital skills. So that goes from email, keyboarding, how to make PowerPoint or SharePoint, or just digital everyday tasks that people may not have. It also helps with like job training and provides you a level of proficiency. And it's self-paced, but we have volunteers. We just got an email today from Hackseville, who are partners with us for our summer academy. So they have volunteers who are willing to come over and help. As we wrote it up, we were thinking Mondays from 6 to 7:30 at West Haven, at First Street on Wednesdays from 6 to 7:30, 6th Street from 6 to 7:30 on Thursdays. It's all preliminary stuff. We have to double check, make sure the centers are available. But it's just something else for our residents. If anyone is interested, or we can continue to keep everybody up to speed with it. This doesn't start like tomorrow or anything. We got some more stuff we got to work out, but just want to make sure you all were abreast.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's free.
Cool.
Program's
Cool.
free.
Very cool. Is there other business or comments, questions from commissioners? All right, thank you all so much. I think we've covered most of the meetings on our meeting date announcements. So I'll leave those unspoken because we covered them all already. I look forward to seeing you all at redevelopment tomorrow if possible, and at our safety meeting on Wednesday. And our, those of you who can make it on Wednesday also to the Crescent Hall's annual plan meeting. So that's three meetings in the next 2 days. And we already mentioned we've got a big agenda for September, so look forward to being back in this room with all of you again then, and seeing you lots of times in between. We now have time for final public comment this evening.
Hi, it's Brandon Collins with FAR Public Housing Association of Residents, 984-3255. Not going to take a ton of your time. Thank you for getting to most of my questions throughout the course of the meeting. That was super helpful and hopefully helpful to the public. I just, it's very difficult for me to comment much on the safety situation. There are a ton of different resident perspectives on policing, on security, and everything else. And it's hard for FAR to even, come to consensus to be able to have a position, but I do know one very strong position that we hold is that lease enforcement is important. And a brief conversation I had with our chair, property management, residents, some of y'all know where some of these problems are coming from, right? You don't have to have a total policy change to address this. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Redevelopment, thank you for thanking all the people involved, and I'm excited for Councilor Bellamy's enthusiasm. Hopefully that enthusiasm does spread. The young lady was correct to point out that residents need to also feel this enthusiasm as well as the wider public. Residents, we've been doing a lot to reach them and let them know this is coming. We've been doing this for a long time, but they're still like super skeptical. And I think it's important, as we think about press and stuff, residents get a lot of this information from the same way the general public does, which is from the television. They don't necessarily see our flyers or come to workshops or anything like that. So it's really important, I think, at the next meeting to make some kind of good show of this and to keep in mind everybody's going to freak out, right, because they haven't been paying attention. And people hate developers. So once we name a developer, it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what their intention is, their past, their current, present day. The public generally distrusts developers. There's a lot of angst towards this housing authority and whether it's competent. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to look at when that news breaks and everybody's going to flip out. So hopefully we can all kind of come together and be super positive and super clear on what's going on. And, I look forward to helping with that if possible. Section 3 does need to come into some of this, and I do know that Mr. Duffield's looking at the policy. I think he's got permission from you all to move forward with a policy. As soon as this developer is selected, it may be time to start looking at some very simple Section 3 opportunities for residents in terms of, say, catering, smaller tasks that need to be performed where it's really easy to find someone and hire them to do stuff. You've already got some movement through the residents on the job program for Section 3. It's super great, and I think Mr. Norris is going to be a huge help with this, and I know he's going to keep his eye on that as well. Very excited about We Code 2. This is from my own personal observations as a member of the public. It seems like an awesome program. FAR is expanding our capacity. We've got a new employee starting next month, and we will have an additional employee on top of that in the coming months. So we would love to just have a conversation about partnering on that and certainly be able to spread the word and reach a lot of residents. I think it's a perfect opportunity to do some really cool stuff. So super excited for that. And last thing, city vouchers. That was a frustrating conversation for me to listen to. It was not designed for failure, I would say. It did change from what the original hack recommendation was, and I've been very critical about that. And this board has also been pretty critical, but you're working with what you have to work with. I think the one thing that provides some stability and safety is that it is connected to the Housing Choice Voucher List. And so if the council said, nope, not going to do it anymore, there would be a way to sort of phase people out. And it would have to be kind of a slow phase. But the intention being that if you have the city voucher and your name comes up on the HCV list, you then have the opportunity to take the HCV instead. It would be my recommendation to anybody to take that because it's much more sustainable. Now, if you have the continued funding, what that does is free up the city money to add another person on there. So it gets the list flowing. If for some reason that money needs to get shut off and council won't pass it, which they actually should just double the money, and that would take care of a lot of problems. And the idea of locking it up with the Affordable Housing Fund might be something to consider. There is some safety for it, right? I think this housing authority is not going to let anybody fail in this, and hopefully the council will continue it. But it's not super awful. It's not super dire. It's not awful, though it's a little frightening. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Mr. Collins, I have something I want to say to you really quick. I just want, no. I just wanted to publicly apologize to you. So I remember maybe 2 or 3 months ago when you first came with the idea and said we should float a $50 million bond, and I just thought like you were tripping. And I said you were tripping, but you weren't tripping.
150. Let's keep going.
See, now, I apologize, and now you're going to run out.
No, I appreciate it. I wasn't going to raise the issue. I know you all have discussed it, and if you've been paying attention, CLIC and FAR have been pushing. And I think with the support of this board, we want to find y'all some money.
Yes.
And I think there are a lot of challenges to redevelopment and a lot of things that are in the positive vision and the things that would best serve residents of public housing for the future. That are very difficult under HUD rules and financing structures that are available, and this kind of public money from the city shows that public housing is a priority, a new future is a priority, and these important things can get done with that kind of funding. And I'm sure y'all support it, and I think you got the rest of the community behind you. Yeah. So let's make it happen.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Collins.
Are there other comments this evening? Great. Thank you all. We covered a lot of ground today. I look forward to meeting again with you soon. Good night.
Outstanding.